Okay, so we are now into October, so some of you out there may be asking, what can I sow at this time of year? So I'm going to show you some of the things that I intend to grow and how I'm going to go about doing it. So I've chosen some rather intriguing varieties, as some of you may expect from me, as well as some, relatively bog standard stuff for growing here in the UK. So let me show you what I indeed have got. Now, many of you may be aware that I'm very fond of this company, Real Seeds. I found them on the internet and I will link that website down below. I suggest you check them out. I've spoke about them before. Very good company indeed, and a lovely website as well. So I'll show you what indeed I'm going to grow. Okay, so broad beans. Here we go. And this is variety, hope I'm saying this correctly, Aqua Dulce long pod broad bean. Traditional variety of hardy broad bean, long pods with fat, pale green seed. Okay, so it's often good to sow them at this time of year because the tale is, if indeed it is a tale, whether it's true, some people agree with it, some people don't. They say that if you get them in early, you'll get your crop before the black fly comes. Okay, and it's also nice to see some bean plants, growing away in your beds over the winter period. I like that anyway. And the next thing I'm going to grow is land cress. So this is a low growing all year round salad plant, small rosettes of leaves, hot spicy flavour, similar to watercress. So let you have a look at that. The next one, now this really does look cool. It's called Purple Sword Celtus stem lettuce. A stem lettuce chosen for the beautiful purple colour of its leaves. The stems are stripped of leaves and cut into strips and either boiled or used in stir fries. So there you go. Have a look at that one. The next one, I'm probably not pronouncing this right at all, Coquille de Louvier corn salad lamb's lettuce, a low-growing plant that is useful for winter production of fresh salad greens. The plants are about 4 inches tall and have attractive rosettes of spoon-shaped leaves. Okay. And the next one is Kyoto Market green leaf bunches or spring. So this is really cool variety of spring onion that I saw on that website. So let you have a look. There you go. Have a look at that there. Okay, and now these didn't come from there, they came from somewhere else, but got some garlic and some onions. So there you go. That's the garlic. Look. And that's your onions. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to sow these seeds and bulbs. Now, I like these windowsill propagators. So if I direct sowed these straight into the ground or into tubs, the chances are at this time of year, at least here in the southeast, they would still germinate at this time of year. But of course it depends where you are in the UK or indeed another part of the world. But I'm going to sow them in these trays here in windowsill propagators. So what you do is you get your windowsill propagator like that, put your compost, put your seeds in, and then simply put that like that, and then the design of these you put on your windowsill, ideally south facing, and that will help them to germinate, because I believe very much in increasing your chances of germination, because if they don't germinate properly that can be very frustrating indeed. Okay, so I've got some multi-purpose compost in here, and you want to be using fresh compost for germination, because you don't know what's living in the compost, like in the sense of mites, which happened to me one year, and I lost earlier this year rather, and I lost all of my seedlings, and yes, frustrating indeed. So what I'm going to do is I've got several trays like this, and I'm just going to fill them up all with compost. Procedure for sowing of these seeds is going to be very, very simple indeed. So I've got, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windowsill propagator sets. And we're going to start with Kyoto Market green leaf, okay, bunching or spring, basically spring onions. Okay, so I'll just put that like that. And all I'm going to simply do is get my seeds out. Okay, it's a good view, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to get my seeds out and I'm going to shake a load of them like this. This is not going to be a precise science. I'm not going to individually put one in each cell because I'm just going to scatter them in the cells like so. About 5 or 6 thereabouts into each one like that. Now what I'm going to proceed to do when these germinate, let them get a bit of size, and then I'll transplant the whole cell out. That way my germination rate will be quicker because these are going to go inside on the windowsill and I can keep an eye on them. A few more like so. And just push them in like that. And I could, if I wanted, put another layer of compost on top. Just push them in like this, just like that, and get a handful of compost and just proceed to gently lay it. On the top. Like so. So next up, top on, and I'm going to proceed to take that inside. So we're going to do the whole lot like that. So that's the lamb's lettuce. See the slightly different, well, very much different colour seeds to the spring onions, and same procedure again. So this is something very important when you're doing things like this. You want to make sure that you can remember what you are growing and where it is. So corn salad lamb's lettuce, I'm going to write it on this little tag here. I got my little tag there, the variety and what it is, and that way I know what I'm planting out at a later date. Okay, next up is landcress salad plant. So, whoops, come on, that's it, same again. So I've decided that I'm going to set some broad beans in one of these cell trays after all. So when you set broad beans, eye up, push in. The reason I'm doing this is, yes, these would be fine, and they would more than certainly, you know, germinate outside at this time of year. Certainly, you know, a good percentage of them would, but I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to set them yet. So if I put them in this cell tray, the plants can be nicely germinating, and then when I do decide where I'm going to put them, I will have mature plants ready to be transplanted out. Now, whatever you're growing this time of year in regards to this sort of thing, needs to be hardy in your climate, because you know, winter is coming, and they say frost is imminent. So we need to make sure that anything we are setting is hardy so that we don't end up wasting time and effort. Broad beans are such a great crop to grow. There we go. And there are my broad beans. Right, so next up is the garlic. Get off. The garlic and the onions. And I'll show you how I'm going to do this. So, you may remember that video I put up where I showed the old compost that I got out of the grow bags that the tomatoes were growing in. Well, I'm going to use a load of that. So I'm going to put a bit of that in like that, in that one. And you probably can't see what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to turn the camera down. Oh. Right, let's have a look. Right, so I've got 2 containers. And what I'm doing is filling them up with a mixture of the compost from them grow bags, a bit of garden soil, and a little bit of old multi-purpose compost that I had lying about. Now, I'm going to be planting garlic and onions. So garlic and onions, they like well dug, fertile soil that drains well. They don't want to be, sitting in too much wet, damp. Well, damp's okay, but they don't want to be sitting in waterlogged soil. So if you're going to grow them in containers like I am here, you want to make sure that there's holes in the bottom and you're using a free draining growing medium. Go. Now that's good. If you're growing these in the ground or in a container, if you've got a nice bit of organic matter that you can get in there, good fertiliser. I'm going to be putting some seaweed fertiliser on these after I've sown them. And I'm not worried about the stones in there because that will improve the drainage. So, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off with the onions. So, there's 50 onion sets here, variety Sensu Yellow. Now, what I'm going to do, you get your seeds like that, bulbs like that, and you've got the top bit there where it's going to grow like up from, and you've got your root. So you want to go in, a good 5 centimetres like that, and now you want to set them about, ideally about 10 centimetres apart if you want to get a decent size onion. Of course, if you're not massively worried about getting huge onions, place them a little bit closer. And I'm not entering any onion growing competitions here, so I'm not going to necessarily be 100% strict on that rule. I'm just double checking I've put them in the right way as I'm talking to you. like that. So there's 8 onions in there. 9, 10. There you go. I'm not going to go any more than that. And then all I'm going to simply do is just proceed to cover them. So that's how I'm going to grow my onions. And hang on. There you go. I think you can see that there. Yeah, that's good. So these are my garlic. It's Casablanca. And what you do with garlic is you take it out like that. They're not like an onion where you just put the whole bulb in. What you have to do is scrape them apart like that. Now, onions and garlic, if you're growing them in the open ground, you want the rows about 20 centimetres apart. So yeah, 20 centimetres apart for the rows, and you want the onions a good 10 centimetres apart. I mean, one could argue if you want to get bigger onions, you could space them even further apart than that. But of course, that all depends on what you're growing for and what your aim is. Now, if you're growing prize-winning onions, you want them as big as possible, but that's not what I'm doing. But you might be. And of course, one could say it's easier to peel one big onion than it is loads of small ones. But there are, gardening is very much open to interpretation of what you want to do, and there are some people that are quite sort of this is how it's done and that's the only way, and in many ways they know a very lot about gardening, and I've met quite a few of these people. I mean, I remember when No Dig came along, and I was talking to someone down the allotment about it, and and the whole No Dig principle, it took the jam right out of their donut. They really didn't agree with that at all. But do what's right for you. Okay, now, so with regards to setting onions, same sort of rules apply, really. Sorry, garlic. You got your bottom there, look, and you got the top. So you want to be going down about 5 centimetres again, like that. And I'm going to put them about 5 centimetres apart. Now, one could say that you want them about 10 centimetres apart, but the same applies as what I was speaking about before. So all I'm going to be doing is just simply putting my cloves in. So yes, I'm going probably is about 10 centimetres apart actually, but I want to get all of these garlic cloves into here. And although I'm not much of a cook, I know plenty of people who are, and they will be able to use this beautiful garlic. I mean, the health benefits of garlic. I remember years ago, please don't quote me on this, but apparently in the Roman times, the Roman soldiers had to eat garlic every day because they knew it was so good for them, even back then. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's what I was told. But I do know that garlic does have some really, really good benefits. Okay, so, and not to mention tastes great, and it's great in various dishes. Okay, so with regards to sowing garlic and onions, you want the 5 centimetre deep thing is good, because in the past I have just sowed them on the top. But if you go a bit deeper, because what happens is when the shoot comes up at the top, particularly if you're growing them outside, the birds will come along and can pull them up because they think they're worms. But if you put them a bit deeper, even if the birds do tug on them, gives them a bit more footing in the ground. Brilliant. Really happy with this because it's nice to just have stuff growing. At this time of year when you're sort of thinking, oh dear, the gardening season's over, it's really cool that you can just get stuff in, isn't it? Right, then cover them over like that. Simple, eh? Now, these garlics and the onions, they can germinate outside no problem at this time of year, but me being me, I'm going to keep these in the polytunnel because I want them to germinate a bit quicker, and I really am looking forward to just coming out here in the middle of winter. Well, no, that won't happen, will it? They probably won't be ready until next summer. Till about July, really. But you know, it's a nice thought, isn't it, to have that in your thoughts that you could, but that's not going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to keep them in here, but if you want to keep them outside, and once again, you can sow them in the open ground as well. So if you like my work, please feel free to like, share and subscribe. I've got my Instagram, Dan_Home Gardens, if you peeps are interested. But I appreciate all your support, and good luck sowing, you know, stuff for the winter. Get it in. Now, there are other things that you could consider sowing at this time of year, and one thing is cauliflower. Cauliflower is a great thing because it's very tasty, and it's fully hardy. So cauliflower you could consider kale, spinach, chard, you know, stuff like that if you germinate it in the cell trays inside and then bring it outside into a polytunnel. But whatever you do, make sure it's hardy, but there are plenty of options out there for you. See you next time. Okay, so you could, if you wanted now, you could put some asparagus in, and also you could put your rhubarb in now. And one thing that I have grown well in the past is a certain variety of lettuce. What was that called? Arctic King, that was it. I grew that a few years ago over the winter, and that was a good one. So like salad leaves, it doesn't have to be specifically that variety. You can often get salad leaves called salad leaves in a packet, and you just scatter them on a little pot like this, and you've got salad leaves. So many things that you can grow nowadays, you know. Just because the weather's not going to be amazing, so to speak, doesn't mean you won't have to have anything to eat that you've grown yourself. I'm going to go now. See you later.